Hi, Mr. Walder. Thank you so much for being with us. It's very nice to see you. I just had, I think, 2 or 3 questions. The Center for Urban Future released a report last week that indicated transit service is not keeping pace with the demand for transportation, specifically on Staten Island. And as you mentioned in your testimony, businesses depend on the MTA to get customers to their operations. Employees rely on it to get to work. And over the last 10 years, Staten Island has seen about 4,000 jobs added. The demand has increased for transportation, has increased 32%. However, last year, my particular district had saw 8 buses total between the Staten Island portion and the Bay Ridge portion of this district, 8 bus lines. So my question is, what is your plan to provide the service, the adequate service, I should say, that Staten Island taxpayers need and deserve?
I might say, if I can, I think we need to provide an adequate service and a good quality service for Staten Island residents as well. And I think the challenges of doing that are somewhat different than the challenges across the rest of the New York City area, which is heavily dependent on the subway system. I think we have grappled with an incredibly difficult economic situation. The changes that you referred to last year are very real changes that took place. We sought, consistent, I think, with the points that Senator Fuschillo just made a moment ago, to be able to show how we could save money as effectively as possible and to be very conscious of fares and not wanting to increase fares more than had been the expected amount of the fare increase that would take place. We are running an exceptionally tight budget right now, indeed one that has enormous challenges just to meet where we're at the moment. If you ask me whether I think there are things that we are not doing or not doing as much of, I would have to say yes. I'm unhappy about the cleanliness of some of our stations and wish we were doing more in that regard. I'm unhappy about our ability to serve all of the transit needs across the metropolitan region. And if we're fortunate enough to see, as someone mentioned before, I think Assemblywoman Brennan, a sustained uptick in the New York City economy, we'll be struggling to put back the level of services that will be needed to be able to keep up with the rising demands that will be there. All of those issues are very, very real for the MTA right now, and we're very cognizant of the particular issues that exist on Staten Island and looking to do the best that we can within the context there. I would also make the point that I think Staten Island's unique position is a very bus-dependent area without the subway is an area that we're also trying to respond to in a different way. There are opportunities to make our bus system better than it is today. We carry 2.8 million people across the New York City area on buses, but we haven't invested in our bus system and haven't made some of the decisions on our bus system that I believe could make a big difference in what we're doing. And let me give you 2 examples. First off, we have a series of bus lanes that exist throughout the city. The intent of the bus lane is that bus lanes are for buses, that they will be able to move through, not be held up in congested areas in the way of being able to do that. We have to be able to do more in terms of enforcing bus lanes. And I think there is now the technological advance of being able to use camera enforcement for bus lanes. The legislature gave us the permission last year to implement this on a limited number of routes, but we need to be implementing them across our existing bus lanes where practical to be able to do that for the express purpose of allowing people to be able to move much more effectively than the buses to move much more effectively than they're able to do right now. Second, every one of us today is dependent on real-time information in a way that we could not have imagined even just a few years ago. Every single person in this room probably has a cell phone in their pocket, whether it's the latest version of the iPhone or Blueberry or BlackBerry or whatever else, or whether it's a simple cell phone. Cell phones are now in the pocket of 95% of Americans, and they're utilized in a way that we look for that information technology to be there. Why do I say this? Just last month, we rolled out a pilot program in Brooklyn, which I refer to as MTA Bus Time. MTA Bus Time allows anyone with a cell phone to be able to find out where the bus is, to say, I am on this bus stop, this is where I'm going, and to find out where the bus is. That's incredibly powerful, because instead of being in a relationship with the bus system in which you go down to the corner, you stand there in the rain or the snow, you look longingly up the street wondering where the bus is, you can make yourself go to the bus when the bus is going to come. I say this to you, Assemblywoman, because our commitment from the MTA is that we will roll out MTA bus time across the entire borough of Staten Island this year.
Well, I appreciate that, but if there are no buses, then the bus time really doesn't serve. I mean, look, we
it's
lost...
not that there are no buses.
No, I know. I'm just trying to make a point.
I don't think that's quite a fair statement.
I'm trying to make a point. If the bus was eliminated, we certainly don't need the bus time. However, I think part of the frustration for my constituents is that they're consistently asked to pay more and they receive less. We have the highest toll in the nation. Just went up to $12. Okay. Our working families were asked to pay more for driver's licenses, learner's permits, vehicle registrations due to the increased MTA fees. Our small businesses are burdened with the MTA payroll tax. And during these economic times, quite frankly, I mean, that was a penalty to our businesses. You create a job. During these economic times, we want everybody to create jobs. You're telling me for every job I create, you're going to penalize me? I mean, I think that, I bring this all up only because it's just not fair that we're paying more, and yet we're not. I can understand if we were keeping the 8 buses. Okay, we're paying more, we're paying increased taxes, we're paying increased fares, we're paying increased tolls, and yet at least we're maintaining the service. But in this situation, we're not. And as someone who commuted 8 years to Manhattan from Staten Island, I could tell you that it's wrong. It's wrong to continually ask our constituents to pay more and more and more and more, yet receive less in service. And to me, it's just unacceptable. And my question really is, what steps are you taking to rectify the situation and provide the adequate service that our taxpayers deserve?
We worked last year to deal with a $900 million shortfall in the resources that were expected to come to the MTA. $143 million of that shortfall was due to the deficit reduction program enacted by the legislature, and the balance of that shortfall was due to shortfalls in dedicated taxes to the MTA, which, due to the weak regional economy, did not come in at the levels that had been expected. We worked very, very hard, and I appreciate the points that have already been made in this hearing by people who have recognized the way that we worked hard to be able to drive costs out of the MTA so that we didn't have to put this burden back on our customers, either in the process of service reductions or fare increases. As I've said, we reduced the MTA's annual ongoing cost by $525 million. In our financial plan, the total saving between 2010 and 2014, operating cost saving, is $3.8 billion. The annual saving will rise to $1 billion a year by 2014. I think Senator Fischillo urged us before to be on a path of continuing to do it. I want to assure this body that we are on the path of continuing to do that. The best way that we can ensure that we're getting the services out there to our customers is, in fact, to make the best use of every dollar that we receive. And that's the process that we've been on and the way that we're doing that right now. I don't want to tell you that it's easy. It's extremely difficult. It has been an extremely difficult effort. Along the way, there have been impacts to customers. I appreciate that. There have also been impacts to our employees. We laid off over 1,700 people last year, men and women who were dedicated employees of the MTA at all levels of the organization lost jobs. And that was extremely difficult to do in the way that we did that. But this balancing was the way that we were able to get through a $900 million shortfall last year without doing one of 3 things, all of which I think would be outside the bounds of reason. We did not return to the legislature and looking for additional funding, given the financial situation was there and the actions that had already been taken. We held the fare increase to the expected level of the fare increase, what had been agreed upon at 7.5% yield fare increase. And we implemented very carefully a series of service reductions, which, while I would not in any way say have been painless, they were very painful. We worked very hard to be able to mitigate and ameliorate what I think was some of the difficulties that were coming up through the public hearing process. And I hope that you will recognize the efforts that we've taken to be able to do all that. At the same time, I'm proud to say that I think the MTA has very much concentrated on recognizing that if we were just reducing our costs, that's not good enough. We've been trying to improve the quality of the services that we have out there as well, and that's why I mentioned MTA bus time. That's why I mentioned the things like the countdown clocks on our subway platforms that 95% of our customers write in and say, thank you. This has really changed my experience in being able to do it. That's why I mentioned things like SBS, our select bus service, where we've been able to reduce the run time, the travel time for customers along 1st and 2nd Avenue by 19%, and soon to come to Staten Island under the plans that exist to be done as well. We have to find a way to continue to do all those things, improve our services in the ways that are there, the quality of the services and the quantity of the services, but we have to do it within the financial envelope that we have. We should not expect that the transit system will be self-sufficient in its funding. It will not achieve that goal, but it is still our responsibility. I accept the responsibility to use every dollar wisely.
Just to close, I mean, I do very much appreciate the efforts that you have made, and I don't want you to think that they've gone unnoticed, because I do understand that you've made a very good effort at trying to make the agency more efficient. I think that's a good first step. I just, in the future, I just would like you to think more, I guess, about the commuter and how, from their perspective and from my perspective as a representative for them, the impact that these increased fares, tolls, taxes, fees have on them, and I mean, quite frankly, I mean, what do you expect us to feel? I mean, we're consistently asked to pay more and receive less, and that's just something I hope that you will just continue to take note of going forward.
I want to assure you, I think of the commuter every day.
Thank you very much.
And I think the path that we've laid out is the best we can do.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.